Hey guys, how you doing? You see that? That was a vegetarian cake made with rough puff pastry. So today in this episode, I'm gonna show you guys how to make rough puff pastry and also how to make that beautiful vegetarian cake. You wanna know how I did it? I'm Cosito. Let's go! First off, let's get technicalities aside. I'm calling this tart a cake because I normally always call everything a cake. But this one is actually a tart. Fun fact, did you know that cheesecake is also a tart and not a cake? Mind is blown, right? Okay, enough fun facts. I do, however, have another hilarious fun fact for you guys at the end of this video. So stay tuned and I'm sure you guys want to leave a comment about it. Let's get to business. In a large bowl, add half a teaspoon of salt, 250 grams of flour, followed by half of 250 grams of small cubed butter. Then you start by massaging these ingredients together while the butter starts to loosen up. Then, after you feel like everything is mixed up well, proceed to add the other half of the 250 grams of butter. Then give it a massage again, like you're massaging your... It should look something like this. Furthermore, for this rough puff pastry, grab like 100 ml of water. But you probably won't need the whole 100 ml. You're probably gonna use half of it or maybe 2/3. For this part, you just need to gradually add it in and make sure the dough doesn't get too wet. If it does get too wet, you add a bit more flour to it. Here's what you do. Keep kneading the dough and then gradually add the water and keep filling it out and make sure it doesn't become too sticky or wet. After this process, you'll be left with a dough like this. Rough puff pastry and puff pastry heavily rely on butter. Don't worry if you see bits and pieces of butter still through the dough. Here you see my dough was still a bit wet, so I added a bit of flour to it. Be careful not to add too much flour to this dough. Form it into a ball, wrap it in cling film, and place your rough puff pastry dough in the fridge for 30 minutes. While your rough puff pastry is resting, you can prep your veggies. Start by finely chopping 1 onion, mushrooms, shallot, and garlic. Next, it's time to pull the rough puff dough from the fridge and feel how firm it has gotten. If all is correct, you can still see pieces of butter through the dough. So here's what you do with it. Start by flouring the surface and also sprinkle a little flour on the dough. Okay, let me be frank. Before starting to make this rough puff pastry, I forgot I didn't have a rolling pin. So in dire times, there's nothing left than to be creative. With that said, I used my cling film as a rolling pin and actually it worked perfectly. This is a perfect moment to quote Inky Johnson.
I would never let a circumstance or a situation define my life.
Here the process becomes quite repetitive. Roll the dough out fully. If it becomes too sticky, sprinkle a little bit of flour on top of it. And then just keep rolling. Then lastly, tuck it in on all sides such that you make a rectangle out of it. Fold the upper part towards you to the middle of the dough, followed by the under part over that. What you do next is flip it, roll it out again into a rectangle, then tuck it in and also fold it again. After you're done folding, it should look something like this. What you do next is wrap it in cling film and place it in the fridge for 20 minutes to rest. So, after the 20 minutes, you have to repeat the process all over again. Hence the repetitiveness that I already mentioned. The process is roll, tuck, fold, flip, roll, tuck, fold, wrap in cling film and let it rest in the fridge for 15 minutes. Just repeat this process for 3 more times to get it perfectly. I might just make a dedicated video on how to make rough puff pastry actually, because this might take a while. Be sure to check the description below for all the ingredients and measurements. Now while you're at it, be sure to press the like button, subscribe, and also press the bell icon to get notified when new videos are up. Okay, enough channel promotions. As the rough puff pastry is resting in the fridge, get a pan on, nice and hot, and put a little bit of oil in it, followed by a bit of butter. By the way, we also need 4 hard-boiled eggs for this cake/tart. So get a pan on with water to boil for the eggs. As the butter has turned into liquid, slide in the chopped up garlic, followed by the onions and shallots, and let those cook until golden brown, which should take about a minute or 2 or so. While you wait, season with salt, garlic powder, pepper, and nutmeg. Proceed to add the chopped up mushrooms, mix it all up and let it fry for 2 to 3 minutes. When that's done, just add 500 grams of spinach and cook that off for 1 minute. I hope you're realizing that the spinach is releasing a lot of liquid, and unfortunately that gots to go. So after it's done cooking, transfer it to a container, drain it and let it cool down in the fridge. Now we can dedicate our time to the cheese mixture. For this you need 2 eggs, Parmesan cheese, ricotta, and chopped up mozzarella. Start by cracking up 2 eggs in a bowl and whisk those up. After you're done whisking, pour a tad bit in a smaller bowl to make an egg wash with that part. Proceed to add the chopped up mozzarella, a tablespoon of ricotta and grate over the Parmesan cheese. Mix it all up thoroughly and make sure you incorporate every bits and pieces together. After all that mixing, it'll come out looking like this. At this point, take the spinach mixture that has been cooling down in the fridge, pour it in and mix it thoroughly with the cheese mixture. It'll look just like this. Use this moment to add a bit more seasoning of salt, pepper, plus add more of that grated Parmesan over it. Who doesn't love more cheese? Again, mix that thoroughly till you're left with something like this. Now we're ready to assemble the tart/cake. Start by flouring the tray such that the dough doesn't stick. Now just flour your surface and also the dough and then just roll it out. At this point you need to well, in the words of Limp Bizkit, keep on rolling, baby. Roll the rough puff pastry out as thin as you want and then cover the bottom of the tray with it. Break the long edges off and make sure to cover all the sides of the tray. Also be sure to leave enough of the rough puff pastry such that you can make a top for your tart. Then you can gently pour in the cheesy spinach mixture in the tray. And also remember to peel and slice your hard-boiled eggs in half, which you're gonna gently press in the mixture. You'll be left with a great tart just like this. Isn't it gorgeous? Furthermore, just roll out your leftover dough and make your top. Make sure to seal it on every side. Lastly, grab a fork and start poking holes in it. This step is completely optional, but
wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait.
Highly recommended. Also highly satisfying. With the whisk egg you poured in a smaller bowl, you're gonna add a little bit of water to create an egg wash. Then you're gonna brush your egg wash over the top of the tart. Continue to put the cake in a 200 degrees preheated oven and let it cook for 1 hour. Note that if the top starts to burn, put foil over it and cover the top. Now, let's see this beauty. After it's done cooking, it'll look golden brown just like this. Just the most gorgeous thing that ever came out of my oven. I'ma slice into it to see the middle part. Oof, look at that.
Nice.
From what I'm seeing right now, it worked quite well. Now come on, let's taste. I must say the mix of all the cheeses with the spinach and also the pastry tastes quite well. On a side note, to tell you how delicious this was, I gave a piece of this cake to my neighbor and it literally disappeared in 2 seconds. Yum! Fun fact, I actually don't like puff pastry at all. But rough puff pastry, perfect. I actually don't like croissants either. Fun fact. So, I hope you also try this recipe out and also taste this amazing cake. And it's also vegetarian. Look in the description for all the ingredients. And I hope you enjoyed. So, like this video if you have enjoyed and don't forget to subscribe. This has been Cosito's Kitchen in showing you the difference between a chef and a cook. Take care guys. Peace.